what are we talking about with regard to Iran and these missiles that are going to be fired by Israel at Iran in response to what Iran has done to Israel? It's a sinister, difficult time, isn't it? Uh, let's just catch up on things a little. The current situation is that Israel has agreed not to strike Iran's nuclear sites or its oil sites at the behest of President Biden, and to confine itself to military sites and presumably assassinations, as well as strategic military sites, assassinations of people in the IRGC, I presume. Um, that's been its kind of what it calls military targets. Um, so this will take place, and Israel's told President Biden that it'll take place before the U.S. general elections, the U.S. presidential elections. I beg your pardon. The U.S. presidential elections are coming up in early November. So sometime in the next week or so, Israel will strike Iran. But the reason Israel has been decided not to strike the nuclear or oil sites is because obviously Biden doesn't want American oil prices going through the roof in the run up to the U.S. presidential elections. I'm sorry, which would scupper Kamala Harris's chances, and Israel has agreed not to hit these sites, not to do anything that would severely rock the boat. So, and why? Well, because Biden has promised Israel. In fact, already it's on the way. It promised Israel a THAAD. What are the THAAD? It says for short. Let me look. I can never remember these things. Terminal High Altitude Area Defense Batteries, staffed by Americans, by the way, because there's no time to train Israelis. Israel needs this defense system if it's going to attack Iran, which it is. And it needs this defense system because the Iranian strike against Israel basically targeted two airfields and the Mossad has headquarters in northern Israel and took them out. Well, severely damaged the airfields and took out Mossad's headquarters. Oh, you haven't noticed that? No, because the Israeli press has kept it pretty quiet. But it's a fact. So the Iranian attack was completely effective in that sense, and Israel's in real trouble. I mean, it can't even. Hezbollah would manage to get through with a drone and hit a bunch of people. So what to say? It's not good, really, for Israel. And so she needs this extra defense system because if there's an Iranian counterstrike, then it might cause more damage than Israel is prepared for. So that's an issue. It's got the defense system, so it's going to behave itself and not rock the boat and disrupt things too severely. On the other hand, Iran is really unhappy. It doesn't want war with Israel. I talked to Israelis at a reasonably high level and to Iranians at a reasonably high level. Iranians tell me they do not want war with Israel. And actually, it's a very senior level of Iranian I'm talking to. They don't want war with Israel. They're being forced into this situation because Biden, because Netanyahu wants war with Iran. I said to them, go slow on your response. And they said, we did that. We took time, last couple of times. But we will, they said. I said to them, get Mohammed bin Salman to negotiate, be the negotiator between you guys and Israel. I mean, that would work. They didn't respond to that. I don't know. It's an awful time, isn't it? War after war in the Middle East, unnecessary war to no point, no avail. By the way, I spoke at senior level to Israelis, and to my particular friend, an ex-minister, said to me, said to me, we don't want war with Iran. Okay, you don't have to strike them, but this thing is cycle of violence, tit for tat, tit for tat, tit for tat, and then it gets ratcheted up. You know what bothers me is that I remember 9/11. Now we're going back a while, 9/11. You remember, I mean, whatever America had done to provoke these nasty people, and they were nasty, nasty people. Al-Qaeda, nasty. And that massive civilian attack on 9/11 on the Twin Towers, it changed the face of the earth in terms of international affairs. And we had this war on terror, and we had the strikes on the attacks, the invasion, if you want that language, but whatever language you choose to use, the American wars, or the Anglo-American wars with Afghanistan and subsequently Iraq. Oh, the loss of life. As a consequence of 9/11, our payback. That didn't really serve us very well. We have a similar situation October 7th. History repeats itself. So we have the October 7th attack by Israel, by Hamas. Terrible attack by Hamas, terrorist attack by Hamas. What were they thinking of? Horrible attack. Predominantly on Israeli civilians. There were some military and police, but 2/3 of them were civilians. And took all those hostages. I mean, awful. And then the the consequence is that Israel's retribution, God, talk about collective punishment, is massive on ordinary civilians. We didn't target civilians. All right. How much is left in Gaza? God help you. Anyway, it's what it is. And October 7th is reshaping the world because Israel's now at war with Lebanon and will be a war with Iran as well as Gaza. So we have a crazy situation. Netanyahu is going to be Prime Minister of Israel till October 2026. If he keeps his coalition together, and keeping his coalition together requires pleasing the extreme right wing, people like Ben Gvir. And he will. Of course he will. Netanyahu cares about his personal survival. So his coalition will hold together, and we've got Netanyahu as Prime Minister of Israel for more than another year, till October 2026. Can you credit it? Well, that's the backstop. That's when Israel has to have elections, and he'll run it through to the end, won't he? You know what it is. And will we have a ceasefire in Gaza prior to that? Yes, maybe. Yes, maybe. Not today, not tomorrow, certainly not before the US elections, but maybe. So that Netanyahu can concentrate on the war on Lebanon and the war with Iran. This is all so pointless. We really need to break this cycle of violence and have a little care and compassion. Israel was potentially right up there. It was ready. I mean, people were ready to make peace with Israel. And Israel didn't have to take this path. Well, if you're an Israeli, you argue, of course, it did because of October 7th. I'm not so sure. But it takes a great man and a great nation to break this cycle of violence. And people are trapped by it. Iran is trapped by it. Iran doesn't want to be in this mess. Not a good situation, not a good time, but old Churchill thing, jaw, jaw, jaw is better than war, war, war. Well, we've had precious little jaw, jaw, jaw. It's time for a little talking. Don't talk to Hezbollah through proxies, talk direct. And to Iran. And to Hamas. Let's have some direct talks. All childish, sending people to Coventry, not talking to them. Yeah. Need to talk even to your enemies. I believe it's time for sensible heads to prevail. Used to be that the US was policeman of the world and you could rely on the United States to beat heads together. But those days are gone. The US is weak now, as evidenced by the weakness of Biden and Israel's puppy dog. Sad in a way. But there you go. It's what it is. No more Pax Americana. If the world has to sort itself out, that's a big ask when the great powers are not being particularly helpful. But we need an answer, and we need an end to the violence right quickly before things escalate, wouldn't you say? Well, I think so. God bless.